Humans are not designed to sit behind desks all day. We evolved as hunter-gatherers who had to hunt animals and fish and forage for wild nuts, seeds, and vegetables. Not only were those foods very healthy, we had to expend a large amount of physical effort to obtain them. This helped to keep our ancestors lean and healthy. We talked about the issues with modern Western diets in the nutrition section. And the lack of physical activity required by the modern world is another factor that contributes to an increasingly overweight and unhealthy population. But being overweight is not the only issue. Being underweight can also cause health problems. In this section, we'll look at the effect of being overweight, the effect of being underweight, the ideal body weight, defined by something called BMI, and how to get there. How can it harm us? It is well documented that being overweight can lead to a number of health issues, including high blood pressure, cancer, diabetes, mental illness, and indeed, death from any cause. In fact, studies conclude that obesity is worse for our health than both smoking and alcohol. Excessive body weight is a growing issue in the Western world. Studies have estimated that 56% of women in England and 61% of women in the US are obese, not just overweight. The question then is, does our body weight impact our chances of having a baby? To answer this, we first need to understand how body weight is categorized. Most research uses a measurement called body mass index, or BMI for short. BMI is calculated using our height and weight to produce a number. This number can then be used to determine whether you are underweight or overweight. There are many BMI calculators online, and you should use one of these to determine your BMI. We use the one at the link on screen. Different countries have different classifications of weight, but the World Health Organization categorizes BMI using this scale. So, the WHO considers a BMI of 25 to 29.9 as normal weight. If you are less than this, you are considered underweight, and if you are above it, you are considered overweight. Effect of being overweight. A lot of research has been done into the impact of being overweight on fertility and pregnancy. This research demonstrates that obesity in women is associated with worse pregnancy outcomes generally, including lower fertility and increased chances of miscarriage. Increases the risk of problems during pregnancy, such as preeclampsia, diabetes, and stillbirths. Is linked to increased risk of birth defects and growth abnormalities in children. Causes the same risks in IVF patients as it does in natural pregnancies. Men who are overweight also experience issues. For example, a Danish study of 47,835 couples found that where men had a BMI of greater than 30, the couples had a 53% increased risk of taking more than 12 months to get pregnant. Where the female partner was also obese, the risk increased by 175%. In a Norwegian study of 26,303 pregnancies, the chances of not conceiving within 12 months increased by 20% for overweight men and 36% for obese men. This study looked at pregnancies, so obviously did not include couples that failed to conceive. The consequence of this is that these percentages are likely to be conservative. A US study found that for every 3-point increase in BMI, the risk of poor fertility increased by 21%. The reason that the male partner's body weight is an issue appears to be due to excess weight causing a combination of lower sperm count and poorer sperm quality. When we look specifically at how body weight affects IVF success, the following picture emerges. Overweight and obese women require higher doses of stimulating drugs to trigger ovulation, and these drugs are less effective. Egg retrieval is more difficult in obese women. Overweight women have significantly fewer eggs retrieved than normal weight women. Egg fertilization rates are lower in obese women. Obese women have fewer high-grade embryos. Overweight women are 83% more likely to have a cycle canceled due to poor response than normal weight women. Poor response rates amongst obese women are 28.2% compared to 16.9% in normal weight women. Normal weight women have embryo implantation rates of 24%, compared to just 15% for overweight women. Normal weight women have a 40% higher chance of achieving pregnancy than overweight and obese women. The chance of a miscarriage is 33% higher in overweight women and 53% higher in obese women. The above studies lead us to the key measurement, which is, of course, birth rates. A study of 4,609 women undergoing IVF treatment with multiple embryo transfers between 2004 and 2010 showed decreasing chances of live birth with increasing weight. The researchers divided the women into 4 groups: normal weight, overweight, obese, and morbidly obese. As you can see from the table, normal weight women had a 96% chance of giving birth, but the chances decreased by 33%, 57%, and 64% respectively for overweight, obese, and morbidly obese women. Where the male partner is overweight, studies also show that pregnancy rates drop significantly. There is less research in this area. However, in one study, pregnancy rates dropped from 46.7% in couples with normal weight male partners to 32% for couples with overweight male partners. Another study showed a similar impact with couples where the male partner was overweight, having a pregnancy rate of 33.6% compared to 53.2% in couples with a normal weight male partner. Effect of being underweight. Less research has been done on IVF success in underweight women. This is a little surprising, as it has been shown that being underweight can be as problematic for fertility generally as being overweight. From the available studies, it seems clear that being underweight impacts the chances of IVF success too. For example, one study examined the outcome of 2,362 IVF cycles using multiple embryos, dividing women into 3 groups: underweight, normal weight, and obese. The researchers found that the normal weight group had a 50% chance of a live birth, whereas the underweight group had only a 34% chance of a live birth. A study of 1,107 Chinese women undergoing IVF also found that underweight women were 16% less likely to become pregnant compared to normal weight women. Underweight men also experience fertility issues. For example, a study of 1,558 Danish men found that those with a BMI of less than 20 had a reduction in sperm concentration of 28.1% and a reduction in sperm count of 36.4%. Another study involving 2,037 men found that those with a BMI of less than 20 had a 68% increased risk of low sperm volume and a 56% increased risk of having abnormal sperm. The ideal BMI. So, it seems clear that for both women and men, being either overweight or underweight can negatively affect chances of IVF success. On top of this, the more overweight or underweight someone is, the greater the impact. Looking at the research, a BMI of between 20 and 25 seems to be optimal. The UK National Institute for Health and Care Excellence recommends a BMI for women of 19 to 30, but the studies suggest that chances can be improved by narrowing the range. If you are not currently within this range, there is some positive news. It has been shown that in women whose infertility is due to being underweight, correcting the issue led to 70% of women studied conceiving without the need for assisted techniques. For women that are overweight, losing weight led to fertility being restored, and another study showed that IVF patients that lost weight experienced better egg retrieval. What can we do? If you are not currently within the ideal BMI range, what can you do to address the issue? We'll first look at what you can do if you're overweight, then look at what you can do if you're underweight. If you're within the range, feel free to skip ahead to the next video. If you're overweight, there is a lot you can do, and unless you have a medical condition that impacts your body weight, losing weight is completely within your control. Before we get into the detail of the things you can do, it is important to first clarify something. While people often talk about losing weight, they should really be talking about losing fat. The distinction is important as we do not want to lose lean tissue. Unfortunately, this is exactly what many fad and commercial diets result in. The usual advice to lose weight is eat less, exercise more, but science can provide a better and more structured approach. Diet and exercise are important, but there are a number of other simple things we can do to increase the likelihood of success. Let's have a look at them now. Another diet mantra is calories in, calories out. This is based on the belief that all calories are created equal. Is 100 calories of donut really the same as 100 calories of lettuce? And that to lose weight, you must burn more calories than you consume. It is beyond the scope of this plan to dissect the faulty premises underpinning these mantras, but I will just say that while burning more calories than we consume is a factor, there is much more to it. The quality and type of food we consume are key. Whether you follow the advice set out below is, of course, your choice. If you choose not to do so and instead opt for another approach, please be very careful. Diets that severely restrict calories can exacerbate body weight issues in the medium to long term and disrupt the delicate hormonal balance critical to fertility. By cutting calories, people often see quick results on the scales, but the result is that our bodies think we are in starvation mode. Remember, we have not evolved much from times when food could be scarce, and so takes actions to slow down the rate at which we burn calories. This is an effort to help us survive for as long as possible. The initial drop in weight is usually just water and carbohydrates stored in our muscles, which returns when normal eating is resumed. Our body also keeps the amount of calories we burn low so that we can put back on weight as a protection mechanism, just in case we encounter another starvation period. What makes things worse is that it does not wait just until we have returned to previous weight levels. It waits until we have added a bit more fat as insurance, in case we have another starvation period. This worked well when we were hunter-gatherers, but just leads to yo-yo dieting in modern times. To lose fat and keep fat off, we need to do things differently. We need a diet approach that provides all the nutrition we need and does not trigger our body's starvation response. You may not realize it, but if you have been through this plan in order, you already know of such an approach, the MDWT. One of the key benefits of a Mediterranean diet is that it helps us become healthier, and part of becoming healthier is stabilizing body weight. Without taking any other measures, studies show that the Mediterranean diet leads to fat loss over the long term and is more effective than low-fat diets. Fat loss has also been shown over the long term, where study participants' calorie intake was not restricted. People ate as much as they wanted and still lost weight. I mentioned above that the traditional Mediterranean diet is not perfect, and the tweaks set out in the nutrition section are helpful not just from an IVF success perspective, they are also helpful from a fat loss perspective. So, to lose fat and keep it off, follow the MDWT. It is often said that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I agree. It is also when many people consume foods that set themselves up badly for the day. In Western diets, people typically eat some form of cereal, baked goods, or other carbohydrate-heavy breakfast. The issue is that for many people, these foods screw up their blood sugar levels for the day, which results in them eating more and eating more of the wrong types of foods later on. Carbohydrates, particularly the highly refined variety found in typical Western breakfasts, cause a sharp rise in blood sugar levels in our bodies, which is shortly followed by a crash. When blood sugar levels drop, we get hungry, tired, irritable, and crave carbohydrates and sugar-laden foods. This is not the case for everyone. Some people tolerate carbohydrates well. If you are one of those people, then count yourself lucky. To test your tolerance to carbohydrates, try this experiment. For a week, consume 1 to 2 pieces of white toast with honey or jam at your normal breakfast time. And note the time that you start to feel hungry again. Also note down whether you feel tired or energized, calm or irritable. For the next week, replace the toast with a breakfast of meat and nuts at the same time as you ate the toast. That's right, meat and nuts. About 80 grams of lean meat of your choice and a handful of raw nuts with the skin on is about right. Again, Note down the time you begin to feel hungry and whether you feel tired or energized, calm or irritable. If your body does not tolerate carbohydrates, it is likely that you will see a marked difference in the results. You should feel fuller for longer, more energized, and calmer with the meat and nuts breakfast. You should also find that you do not crave carbohydrate-heavy foods as much. Why does it work? The protein in the meat and nuts cause a slow rise in blood sugar levels, which in turn avoids the crash. The healthy fats in the nuts help with the production of chemicals called neurotransmitters, which keep our minds sharp and also raise blood sugar levels slowly. Studies have been shown that the addition of protein to meals leads to reduced appetite and increased feelings of fullness. In addition, when protein is eaten at breakfast, it results in greater feelings of fullness than if the same amount of protein is consumed at lunch or dinner. In fact, a study showed that participants who ate protein for breakfast in the form of eggs ate up to 300 calories less at lunch and dinner than participants who ate either cornflakes with milk, toast and orange juice, or a croissant and orange juice. Over time, this reduction will result in significant fat loss. The meat and nuts breakfast is probably one of the more out there things contained in this plan. I cannot take credit for it. It was brought to people's attention by a Canadian Olympic coach called Charles Poliquin. My wife and I both tried it as part of her weight loss efforts, and we are still eating it 5 years later. The increased energy and leanness it has given us is significant. Of course, some people are allergic to nuts, so you have to avoid them. If you are one of these people, then you can substitute nuts for certain fruits that have been shown to cause slow rises in blood sugar levels. Not all fruits do this, so stick to berries, apricots, peaches, nectarines, plums, and grapefruit. Even if you are not allergic to nuts, be sure to rotate the type every few days to prevent food intolerances developing. In the nutrition section, we saw the benefits of eating sufficient protein. Consuming more protein also has a major positive impact on fat loss. A whole book can be written on the benefits, but I will summarize the major ones here. Eating protein increases the levels of hormones that make us feel full and reduces the levels of hormones that make us feel hungry. Result in 20 to 30% of the calories consumed being burned as part of the digestion process, compared to 5 to 10% of calories from carbohydrate and 0 to 3% from fat. So, if we eat 500 calories of protein, only 350 to 400 calories end up being used by the body. Causes our bodies to burn more calories generally. Studies have shown increases of up to 100 calories per day. At 30% of daily calories, reduces appetite by as much as 441 calories a day. Reduces cravings by 60%. Causes fat loss without reducing calories. Is correlated with less belly fat, a particular type of fat linked to a variety of illnesses. How much protein should you consume? Tweak 4 of the nutrition section gives us the answer. The amount of protein per day both improves our chances of success with IVF and gives us the fat loss benefits described here. Aim to get between 25% and 35% of your calories from good quality protein each day. If you choose to lose fat to attain an ideal BMI as part of preparation for IVF, then your reasons for doing so, and therefore your motivation, should already be clear. An ideal BMI will help maximize your chances of having a child. This will most likely be the most powerful motivating force available to you, and the goal-setting principles contained in the section on Our Minds also apply here. You can use them to create a sub-goal of achieving an ideal BMI as part of the overall goal of having a child. Having said that, in the spirit of taking every step possible to increase our chances of success, it is worth utilizing other sources of motivation to further boost our prospects. When it comes to fat loss, there is a specific step we can use to increase our motivation and therefore our chances of reaching an ideal BMI. The step is taking photographs of ourselves from the front, back, and sides at the start of the fat loss phase, and then taking further photographs every few weeks until you have achieved your aim. I'll be honest, you will probably not like the before pictures, and they may look worse than you expect. They usually do. but doing this has been shown to be a powerful tool to increase adherence to fat loss plans. Okay, portion control, or more precisely, a lack of it, is regarded as one of the major reasons why people become overweight. Eating even a little too much at each meal over weeks, months, and years gradually builds up and piles on the pounds. When you consider that the size of restaurant portions has increased over the years, the size of food packages has grown, and average plate size has also increased, it is easy to see how we can overeat. Given the significance of the issue to weight management, it is important to look at measures to address the issue. Fortunately, there are a number of simple things we can do. What follows may be one of the easiest things we can do to lose body fat. It is so simple and so well researched that it is surprising that we don't hear more about it. Simply chewing food properly leads to the consumption of fewer calories, which in turn helps us lose fat. If you are like most people, you do not chew your food properly, especially when you are in a hurry. Chewing is the first stage of the digestion process, and the way we chew and how long we chew can have a significant impact on our overall health, including our body fat levels. An example of the impact of chewing slowly can be found in a 2014 study, which took a group of 70 men and women and had them eat at a slower speed, chewing their food properly. The researchers found that the participants consumed between 57 and 88 fewer calories per meal than participants who ate at their normal speed. 57 to 88 calories may not sound like a lot, but over time, it amounts to a substantial difference, which again will result in significant fat loss. Another study took a group of participants, measured the number of times they typically chewed their food, and then looked at the effects of increasing the number of chews by 50% and 100%. By increasing the number of chews by 50%, participants consumed 9.5% less food, and by doubling the number of chews, their food intake decreased by 14.8%. It is not just a reduction in the amount of food we eat that chewing properly causes. It has also been shown to increase the feeling of fullness, help prevent diabetes, reduce the desire to snack between meals, increase our ability to absorb nutrients from food, increase appetite-regulating hormones that tell us to stop eating. In addition to chewing food properly, speed of eating is important. A study of 30 women looked at the effect of eating quickly until comfortably full and slowly by putting down cutlery in between mouthfuls until comfortably full. When eating quickly, the group ate on average 646 calories. But when eating slowly, the group ate 579 calories, 67 calories less. The group also reported being more hungry 1 hour after the quick eating session. In fact, chewing the food quickly and eating until full has been shown to triple the risk of becoming overweight. Why does chewing more slowly work? One reason relates to our body's signaling mechanism, which tells us when we are full. It takes some time for the signaling mechanism to work, and when we eat quickly, we may have already overeaten by the time the signaling process has kicked in. Result, we have already consumed more calories than we need by the time our body tells us we are full. So, how many times should we chew each mouthful to get these benefits? There are a number of studies that have looked at this, but trying to specify a precise number is difficult and would make mealtimes a chore. Add in the fact that different foods have different consistencies, some taking longer to chew than others. There has to be a better way. There is. Simply chew each mouthful until it is liquefied before swallowing. This will take some conscious thought to start, but it will soon become a habit. You can make the transition easier by following a few simple rules. Set aside time to eat. Don't eat in a hurry. Eat in a calm environment. Be mindful when eating. Put away your phone, tablet, laptop, etc., and turn off the TV. Take smaller bites. Put your cutlery down between each mouthful. Chew until the food is a puree, and finish one mouthful completely before moving on to the next. Another simple and apparently little-known portion control tip is to drink water. This has been shown to be beneficial to fat loss efforts in two ways: by burning more calories and reducing appetite. In itself, drinking water is unlikely to lead to large fat loss, but it is an easy thing to do to increase the effectiveness of your efforts. It may surprise you to learn that just drinking water leads to an increase in the number of calories we burn. Plain water, of course, is calorie-free, but our bodies still have to work to digest and use it. In one study, drinking 500 milliliters of water was shown to increase calories burnt by 30% following consumption. This equates to around 24 calories. In itself, it is not much, but it is easy to see how this can add up over time. Another study showed that the increased calorie burning continued for 60 minutes following consumption. When it comes to appetite reduction, the effects of drinking water appear to be more pronounced. For example, a study gave participants 500 milliliters of water 30 minutes prior to a meal, then examined the energy intake, amount of calories consumed. On average, those who drank the water consumed 13% fewer calories. This equated to an average reduction of 74 calories for a single meal. Another study looked specifically at the fat loss effects of increased water consumption. All participants were put on the same fat loss diet, with half also drinking 500 milliliters of water 30 minutes prior to eating, and the other half did not consume anything. Over the course of the 12-week study period, the group drinking water lost 4.4 pounds more weight than the non-water group. For such a simple step, this is a sizable difference. A study of 50 overweight women had the participants consume 500 milliliters of water before each meal for a period of 8 weeks, while continuing to follow their normal eating patterns. This measure alone led to weight loss of 3.1 pounds and a 0.6-point reduction in BMI. Finally, a study of over 18,000 people concluded that increased water consumption generally is associated with eating fewer calories, together with sugar, cholesterol, and salt. The researchers found that an increase in water consumption of between 1 and 3 cups per day was linked to a decrease in daily calorie intake of 69 to 206 calories. Interestingly, the opposite occurs when people drink sugary drinks. For example, a study gave participants either 450 calories a day of jelly beans or 450 calories of sugary drink, and found that the jelly bean group naturally compensated by consuming 450 calories fewer each day, but the sugary drink group did not. This resulted in significant additional calorie consumption. Based on the research, it makes sense to start drinking 500 milliliters of water 30 minutes prior to each meal. The size of plates and bowls we eat from seems to have an effect on the amount of food we eat. If we choose smaller plates, we serve ourselves less food and consume fewer calories. The opposite also seems to be true. If we use larger plates, we serve ourselves more food and consume more calories. The cause of this is not simply that we can fit less food on a smaller plate and more food on a larger plate. It seems to be caused by an optical illusion with the fancy name Delboeuf illusion. This is best explained by the image on your screen. Which of the two gray circles is larger? You may have guessed from the introduction that it's a trick question. The answer is neither. They are actually both the same size, but the first circle seems much smaller than the second. Now imagine how this would translate when you are serving food. The same amount of food served on a smaller plate would seem to be more than when served on a larger plate. It is also interesting to note that being aware of this optical illusion is not in itself enough to stop our brains being affected by it. For example, in a study involving a group of HR managers attending a seminar on creating healthy organizations, participants were given an hour-long session on how plate size can affect portions. Afterwards, they were given a buffet lunch. Those who received larger plates served themselves twice as much as those with smaller plates. A review of over 50 studies on the effect of smaller plate sizes on portion control concluded that eating from smaller plate sizes leads to a 30% reduction in the amount of food consumed. It is not just when we eat from plates that overeating issues arise. For example, in a study of cinema goers, researchers gave free stale popcorn to people who had eaten lunch before going into the theater. Eating lunch first was important, as it eliminated hunger as a variable. Some of the participants were given popcorn in a medium-sized bucket, and some were given popcorn in a large bucket. Even though the participants were not hungry and the popcorn was stale, those given the large bucket ate 51% more than those given the medium bucket. The conclusion then is fairly straightforward. Choose small plates and bowls and opt for smaller container sizes when out and about. Energy density of food. Not a very catchy heading, but it gets straight to the point. Research has shown that we tend to eat a similar weight of food per day, irrespective of the calorie content, also known as energy density, of that food. So, by consuming foods that are less energy dense, we will consume fewer calories and avoid overeating. One of the issues with traditional dieting, I'm trying to avoid using this word because of its negative connotations, is that calories are cut in such a way that people feel hungry. This hunger then makes it very difficult for people to stick to the diet. One of the benefits of consuming foods that have lower energy densities is that you can eat the same amount of food so you do not feel hungry. In fact, if you significantly ramp up your vegetable intake, you can eat more food and still consume fewer calories. How does eating food with lower energy densities impact weight management? Clearly, by eating fewer calories, we can expect a positive benefit. Studies have shown that normal weight individuals tend to consume more low energy density foods than obese individuals. The reverse is also true. Individuals that eat higher energy density foods tend to have higher BMIs. Finally, a study in which participants were given a low energy density soup as part of their meals demonstrates how powerful this approach can be to fat loss. In this study, participants were given either a broth-based soup to eat before 2 meals each day, or a dry snack to eat before the meals. The soup and the dry snack contained the same number of calories, but the soup weighed more. At the end of the study, the group consuming the soup lost 15.8 pounds, compared to only 10.6 pounds in the dry snack group. The best and healthiest way to lower the energy density of foods we eat is to add more fresh fruit, rather than dried fruit, which has less water and so is more energy dense, and vegetables to our meals, and to swap high-calorie snacks with fresh fruit. There are a number of ways to do this. At meal times, we can have a salad prior to our meal, or as a side dish. We can add servings of vegetables on the side of the meal, or, if vegetables aren't your thing, you can incorporate them in the meal itself to disguise the taste, but still enjoy the benefits. Exercise. Exercise is an important part of any fat loss plan. It can turbocharge both our fat loss efforts and also increase our chances of success with IVF, if done correctly. It is a big subject, so I have dedicated an entire section of the plan to it. Take time to go through it and then decide with your doctor if exercise will be beneficial for you. It will be for most. Research has shown that regularly tracking progress towards any goal, but particularly fat loss goals, significantly improves our chances of achieving the goal. On top of this, a large meta-analysis that reviewed the results of 135 smaller studies, including a total of 19,951 participants, found not only that monitoring progress increases the likelihood of goal attainment, but that recording progress and sharing it with others improve things further. You do not need to go overboard, but a weekly weigh-in, measurement of waist, hips, and a thigh, or using a body fat monitor can be very helpful. Write the results down each week and share them with others, and you should see improved results. It is fair to say that most people who are not within the ideal BMI range are above the range, and so are looking to lose weight, rather than being below it and looking to gain weight. However, as we saw before, being underweight can negatively impact chances of IVF success to a similar extent as being overweight. For this reason, if you are underweight, it would be wise to take steps to address the situation. One way of gaining weight is to simply add a couple of donuts to your daily food intake, and you'll find yourself gaining weight in no time. Joking aside, there is a better way. When I talk about gaining weight, I should be clear on what I mean. Stuffing ourselves with fast food may lead to weight gain, but it will very likely just make us fat. As we have seen, fast food is typically loaded with unhealthy ingredients, so it may also damage our health and our chances of having a baby. We should avoid this at all costs. Instead, we can add some energy-dense, high-quality foods to our diet to increase our intake of calories, mainly in the form of protein and healthy fats. We can eat the same foods from the MDWT, but consume a little more and emphasize certain foods. With your doctor's consent, try a combination of the following. Eat protein at the upper end of the range discussed in Tweak 4 of the MDWT, 25 to 35%. It may seem strange to talk about eating more protein as a measure to both lose fat and gain weight, but studies have shown that consuming more protein helps ensure that additional calories are turned into lean tissue rather than fat. Serve yourself slightly more food at each meal. If that is a struggle, choose larger plates at mealtimes to take advantage of the Del Boeuf illusion that we talked about earlier. Add a tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil to salads, vegetables, and other foods. Snack on raw nuts, seeds, and dried fruit. Follow a weight training program, such as the one set out in the fitness section. Add a protein shake made from whey protein isolate each day. Where you can, eat the protein and fat parts of a meal before the vegetables, but do not neglect the vegetables. Eat a tablespoon of virgin coconut oil each day.